Good afternoon, everyone. Hello there, how are you all? Hopefully you can hear me okay and you can see me. I can see a few of you on here already. Hi Mum, how are you? Hi Jill. Hi Carol. Carol from North Carolina. Oh, it's lovely to have you here, Carol. Hi Jean. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Oh, look, see my jumper today. Hi Sue, how are you? I'm over in Hampshire. I have an aunt and uncles in Hampshire. Don't we, Mum? Brilliant, loud and clear. Thank you, Mum. That's good. Okay, Jean can see me as well. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Lovely to have you here as well. Hi, Lorraine. Brilliant. Okay, you have to excuse my hands today. My hands are so dry. I really suffer with dry hands in the winter, and they just look really old and just not very pretty. So I'll try not to do too many close-up shots. Also, you see, I'm actually bright pink today as well. I've been using Lisa's explosion powders, and I got a little bit covered, as you do, but I match my jumper. Actually, my fingers match my jumper and my watch, so it can't be a bad thing at all, can it? Hi Helen, how are you? Okay, so today's going to be a bit of a different one from me. It's a bit of a play session, again, pretty much like I did a couple of weeks ago or the other week. I've got a plan in my head. Hopefully it will go to plan. I may sort of deviate from that a little bit, but what I wanted to do was just to create some quick and easy cards. I wanted to use the nested triangles. It's something that has been in Lisa's catalogue for a long time. It probably doesn't get all the use that it should, but obviously this time of year with all the Christmas trees about, I think they are a perfect set to use. And I just wanted to again mix the old with the new, again something that I done a week or two ago, and use the older products, so the nested triangles, with some of the newer ones. So I'm using the festive tapestry papers today. I shall be using one or two newer embossing folders. I'm obviously using newer products like the explosion powders, which weren't released when the triangles were released. So yeah, there's a bit mix and match techniques, just something a little bit fun. So hope I've got a plan. There's a couple of different types of embossing folders that I wanted to use. I couldn't figure out another way of sort of bringing them into the design. So let's have a play and see what we can come up with. So I haven't got any slides for you today, but I will do at the end, under the YouTube video, I will put a list of everything that I've used. I may use other, it could be that I use other things and then leave other things out. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But say everything is focused around the triangles today. So the main theme, it's going to be something really fun to do. There's going to be things that you can be good ideas that you can craft with kids, with, you know, just do a load of die cuts for them and leave them to craft with and make their own little Christmas cards as well, maybe. So that might be a nice idea. This first card that I'm using, apologies, I've got my lights on actually. It's a little bit dark here today, but it does create a bit of a glare. Let's just turn, oh, let's turn that around that way a little bit maybe. I don't want to, I'm not quite sure where that big block of light is coming from. There we are. Oh, that's coming from that one there. Okay, I'll try and keep the plastic covers away from there. So yeah, this first one today, again, using the triangles, I wanted to use the tapestry, the festive tapestry papers as well. They're really sweet to use. And also I've been wanting to use this for a long time. It's something that many of you will possibly have in your stash. I did have a quick look. I don't believe it is in stock at the moment, but I know many of you will have this. So hopefully I can give you a really nice sort of an idea on how to use this and do something a little bit different. So I'm just rearranging my desk there, so I've got a bit more working space. Okay, right. So this is the Winter Forest. It's from a good 2 years ago, I want to say, maybe 3 years ago, but it's a really lovely one. It comes with stencils as well. I won't be using the stencils today. I'm purely just using the embossing folder. That is a 6x6 here. We do have layering stencils with this. I think it's it was a set of 4 layering stencils, so it builds up the image really lovely, but it just creates a really nice background. But it's a really nice one to use white on white as well, so it makes it quite tonal. So I've been making a square card today, and what I've done a lot of prep already, so this one and possibly the next one, you know, will be a little bit quicker, but I wanted to sort of get the prep done and hopefully not to keep you too long today either. So I'm making a square card as I generally do, and I'm going to bring in my new tea ruler. I've got this, and it was sitting there for ages and ages, and I hadn't used it, and then all of a sudden I started using this, and I can really see the benefit in using this tea ruler now. Things get squared up so easily. Mum, this would be absolutely brilliant for you. Sorry, I'm just going on a complete tangent there. Mum likes to not do anything straight on a card, do you, Mum? You like to go off on a wonk a little bit, but I know it does frustrate you a little bit sometimes. But this tea ruler, do you know what? The way that it's built, we obviously have the main ruler here, which, yeah, you can see. But this tea bar here, there's a lip just here, which means it catches on your card. Can you see that there? So it means that if you put this end along a straight line, you are always going to have a straight line here. So if you were to then use it to line up any of your die cuts or a sentiment, you've got the perfect opportunity to make or to set that straight. So there we are, Mum. That might be one for you. Maybe I'll send you one for Christmas. Okay, so right, what was I doing? So I was measuring the card blank here. So it's 14 by 14 centimeters square. I have I found a batch of smaller. I've found a batch of smaller envelopes, so I need to make slightly smaller cards. You are a wonky crafter, yes. Indeed you are. So I've cut a matte and layer from Lisa's Super Smooth cardstock, and this is 13 by 13 centimeters. So that sits and mats lovely on top of the card blank there. But you can do this to any size. But the 13 by 13 centimeter mat embosses really nicely in this embossing folder here. So you can see I've already embossed this. Oh, there we are. Screensaver came on. So you can see I've already embossed this. That's the emboss side. And you can see just how pretty that is, even without doing any of the stenciling. And that's the deboss there. And there is so much texture. Let me see if I can get my camera number 2 isn't on. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can turn that on. There we are. What I want to do is just show you the texture. Excuse my fingers. Just wanted to show you the texture on that, on these Christmas trees. So even when you do this tone on tone, just white on white, you get so much detail on there that I'd say don't necessarily think it needs to be coloured, but that is really pretty. So that is going to be my background. So I'm just going to put that straight on there. Actually, I haven't used my glue this morning. Let me just unblock that. How many of you have ordered the new fine tip glues, glue bottles? They look brilliant, don't they? And I think they're on a really good offer at the moment on Lisa's Pick of the Week. I can't remember the price, but I know you get a set of 2 with 2 different size nozzles. Yeah, actually, something like that would be absolutely ideal today. I've got a little one here that isn't Lisa's. I haven't ordered Lisa's yet, and they take a little while. I might wait until the Christmas rush is over, actually, with the post, to be honest. But yes, this would be ideal today because I'll be using some smaller fiddly dies. So I'm just layering that embossed layer straight onto my card. I like the tone on tone with the white. You can matte and layer that, of course. Again, all totally up to you. Let me get out these dies, the triangle dies here. So you get so much for your money with these triangles. You get 10 dies, as you can see here. I've stacked them onto a magnetic sheet. They don't come with a magnetic sheet. I just had some laying around so I could just keep them all in order. And what I've done already, I've used some of the papers from the Festive Tapestry. Now, I've used the first one I came to, actually, but any of the papers would work. I've used this one here, actually. This is the one that I've die cut from. So I've chosen 2 sizes of triangle. Let me see, that one and this one. That was a good guess, wasn't it? So I've die cut those. Obviously, being a smaller die onto a reasonably sized piece of cardstock, you can fussy cut and choose where you want to die cut from. And all I'm going to do, just simply, I'm going to layer these on the front of this embossed detail here, and just create 2 Christmas trees. It is as simple as that, to be honest, for this one. I'm just looking for some foam pads. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing tricky about this at all, but sometimes if you need just that quick card, you know, your brain can go blank a little bit sometimes, kind of. And also this would be a great one to use up any little scraps of card that you may have, any little scraps of design paper that you might have. It's a really good way to use that. And then all I've done, I've cut a strip off the bottom with the red, just a size, you know, I just eyeballed it, just a size that I thought would look decent. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to the triangle and make the tree trunk. And again, there's no measurements here. This is all just sort of, it really is just playing and making it up as you go along. So a lot of my lives are quite technical. Tuesday's one was, if you was with me, you know, quite technical. I've done a lot of stenciling, a lot of embossing, sort of a lot of different techniques and reasons why I put the ink in the place and whatever. And then what I'm doing today is just having a play, really, just making up those cards using scraps and just having you along for the chats, really. So sometimes it's quite nice just to play. I don't know how organised you all are with your Christmas cards and having made them. You probably are very organised, actually, to be fair. But there's always that one, isn't there? There's always that one card that you need, or you need and what you might have made isn't quite right, so you might need to make something else. Or, as I say, the children want to get involved with the crafting, and they've want to make little ones for their friends and things, but you don't want to let them loose with your inks and your brushes, and especially if you are busy and you can't supervise them quite as closely as you might want to. If you do the die cutting for them, put it onto the table with a bit of glue, they'll come up with something. Kids are always really good for that. So before I stick this one down, you see I'm just adding some foam pads onto the back of these triangles here, so they can 3D. It really is say just a simple card, but I like simple. Sometimes simple really is so effective, especially when you have that white background. And I tell you who's good at that is well, all of our design team are fabulous, actually, but Mary Thompson does some really lovely clean and simple cards with white backgrounds with a tiny pop of colour. in the foreground, and this sort of reminds me of something that she would make. So I'm just going to add that tree, probably just there actually, to be honest. You could add more, but what is nice is that you have the embossed trees in the background. So on the face of it, yes, it's two coloured triangles, but you've got this in this embossed detail, which I think is really, really pretty in the background. And then also what I've done this morning, let me just get my, let me just reach up the top here. I had a little session of using my Betterpress, and I was stamping and die cutting a lot of sentiments for you. So I've got a whole stash here, and I probably won't use them all this year, but I know that they're sitting there now. And let me bring in camera number 2 again. I'm just going to find a coloured piece of cardstock actually. Okay, there we are. Look at the rustling now, just bring in a bit of black. And I'm going to bring in camera 2 just to show you. There we are. Oh, that's going to go a bit blurred. Okay. Oh, that's not working. Come on, camera. Okay, let's take that away. I think the black was too much for it. So I've got these sentiments here. There we are. Oh, okay, maybe these are too small actually. Oh no, there we are. Excuse my fingers, messy fingers. But what I've done, I've stamped these, and I'm hoping I can get the colour for you. Because, let me see, this one. I don't know if you've tried it. Ah, there you go. There we are. This, I've used the Betterpress, and I've stamped with the Night Sky Interference ink, and I was just really, really happy with the way that came out. So the Night Sky Interference ink, and that just gives you a really nice look. It's slightly different to the gold, and I'm just going to find some of the gold for you here. I know I'm going off on a slight tangent again, but let me just show you the difference. So Happy Holidays here is the Night Sky Interference ink, but then if I bring in Joy and Blessings, this is stamped with the gold ink pad, and it just shows you the difference. So you can see the interference, you've got that mica sitting there, whereas the gold is stamps just as well actually, but it's a lot paler. So if you're wondering what the difference is on white, then there's that. And also I've stamped it in gold at Glad Tidings as well. That comes out really nicely in the interference inks, the Night Sky. And then you have the silver ink on black as well, which on camera there looks quite white, but you do get that shine from there. Okay, so I stamped lots of these. So what I'm going to do, it gives me a chance just to a simple sentiment to the card. Oh, screen saver. And so all I'm going to do is just pop that sentiment on there, and it's as simple as that. You could embellish more, you can, but I really think that that is just a simple, super stylish card, just with die cuts and then the embossing folder. Now, obviously, I've used the trees in the background. You could use any embossing folder at all. Another way to do this, what you might like to do, is instead of having a plain white background, what I've done, I've cut the layer again, same size, 13 by 13 centimeters, so it'll be the same size as what I've embossed there. Let me move these out of the way. But then I've also used the nesting circles to die cut a circle from the center, and then I've die cut the the same size circle, but from Lisa's white core card. So that is obviously going to fit into the center there. Then what you can do, you can emboss these two together. So you actually have a highlight or a spotlight in the center of that. And I'll just do that for you now, just to show you what that looks like. So because you've die cut the center out of the white and you've inserted the grey, you're not having a double layer in your embossing folder. So that enables you to die cut the two at the same time. Or emboss at the same time, should I say. Okay, so I'll come back with this. Now, I had this sort as a secondary thought, so I haven't got my triangles die cut for this, but I shall do that in a second. So then when you take that out, you actually have the same image, but with the center being the grey, so that is a lot more visible. And it's a really nice background, especially in the grey. I did toy with doing it in the green or a blue, you know, because we're using the forest, but I thought, no, I'll just stick with the grey for now. And then what you can do, obviously, because this is the white core card, you can sand this back. So you can do it as little or as much as you like. And I'm just using the sandpaper that I used on Tuesday. And if you remember, I was actually using a blue cardstock. So I'm just taking off that blue dust because I don't want any blue on here. So just gently, I'm just going to sand back those trees. Now this is going to be really faint. It's not going to be quite as dramatic as it would be as if I was using a darker grey card. But actually, if you use a darker grey card, that would be really dramatic as well, actually, wouldn't it? In the centre instead of the lighter grey. But I'm just sanding that back. And actually, the advantage of doing this on Christmas trees is it makes them look like they're covered in snow. So let me just wipe away that dust. Okay. Now that is really subtle. It is really subtle, but I think that works just really nicely for the background. So you can leave that sitting in there. And I did have, I'm sure I had a card blank here somewhere, a spare one. Yeah, here we are. Okay, let's attach these down because I actually quite like the idea of doing this. And make sure you put the glue around the aperture because you don't want that to lift. Now again, you could matte and layer this possibly onto grey, actually. That would look really nice. But I do like the matte and layer white on white, especially for Christmas. And then I am going to lay this in. I'm going to lay it in flat. There'll be some instances where it'll be really nice to 3D this and use a 3D foam. But in this instance, I think we'll put this flat. And what you want to do, obviously, is match up the embossing. So the match the embossing so the design works. Okay. Actually, that is really, really nice. Now I'm going to cut some more triangles actually, but I'm not going to use the paper. Or maybe I should actually just have a little look. Because I think with the grey, I don't know, this is where I'm being indecisive. Let me look at the papers. What do we think? This one, or could we? Actually, no, I will go with the grey because I think that's going to look quite classic, even though it's against the grey, which is modern. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that one. So that's going to be quite striking. So I will need to die cut these. I haven't planned on doing this, but again, this is what playing is all about, isn't it? So I'm just going to cut myself a strip big enough for me to die cut these. And actually, I think what I might do, I'm going to fussy cut it. So I've got the pink, so I'm going to have a tiny bit of the red at the bottom. So this is the advantage of using smaller dies and being able to sort of fussy cut into a sheet of card. It may seem a little bit extravagant, but you know what? It is only paper, and we buy it because we like it, so I suppose we should use it. Okay, so I bring out my little die cutting machine. That should fit perfectly on there. Look at that. Okay, so we die cut that one there. Actually, I'm intrigued. Hopefully you don't mind me going off on a tangent. I'm actually intrigued to see what this will look like. What I need to do is tape these down because they're a bit slippy slidey. So put that there. Can we attach that one underneath? Yes, we can. I'm going to put that then through because I think the pink and the grey would work really nicely, won't it? Okay, so we take out our die cuts and we can just add our trees, perhaps in a different format this time. Perhaps put them on like that. And then what we can do, we can use the same piece of paper so we don't waste it, and we can cut from the green section, I think, our little trunks for the trees. As I say, this is just sort of playing and just working with what is happening at the time. Oh, excuse me. So I can put the little green tree trunks underneath these trees like so. Let me do that now. And you don't need a die for that. You can just eyeball it and just react to how the session goes, really. So I will try and keep on point because I don't want to sit here and waffle on and keep you too much this afternoon. But we have another little tree there, and we'll just add the glue to this. And isn't it interesting when you actually die cut into a piece of design paper like this, and you take it out of context to the big sheet that you're using it on, it takes on a whole different form, doesn't it? It looks totally different. So we have the two little trees there. You could, if you had the time, you could create a little figure to sit amongst there as well. That could be really sweet. But do that, and then we put on another sentiment like so, perhaps with another little ribbon. You have another really simple little card there, but you have that spotlight with the grey in the centre. Let me just flip onto that camera there so you can just see the advantage of that, and just look how pretty that grey is when you've just sanded that back. It does look like the snow is sitting on the trees there. So yeah, that's one idea. And again, it's very simple. You hardly use anything at all. I actually really like that idea, and it's a nice way to use your design paper as well, actually. So let's put that there, and I'll move you back to this camera. Right, now card number 2, again using the triangles, so I'll move this aside. I'll make, oh, screensaver keeps coming up. Oh, hi Becky, or Rebecca, sorry. Yeah, festive tapestry card is lovely, isn't it? I need a flurry of trees for your neighbours. Who's that? Oh, hi Patricia, I didn't see you sneak in there. Lovely to have you here as well. Who else is here? Okie doke. So now here I've got a little pile of goodies as well. So I've pulled out a nice pile of Christmas embossing folders. Well, they all say Christmas to me. This one does as well, but it's not. It isn't designed for Christmas. It's the knitted one, and I do believe these are all in stock on Lisa's website. I think maybe even this one, maybe unsure, but you will have this. So again, I'm making a DL card actually this time. I thought this go for a bit of a modern feel. So let me just score that down. I've used the nested stitched slims here, okay, to create initially a frame. So this is Lisa's glitter cardstock, the euphoric cardstock. This is, it looks gold on the screen there, but it's actually quite green. Oh yeah, you can see some of the green there, and it catches the light. And I've also just cut myself a matten layer because I want to attach the frame to that as opposed to directly to the card blank. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach those two now. So this is where these fine tip glues really come into their own when you're needing to glue sort of fine areas like this as well. And they really do give you a lot of control over the amount of glue you're dispensing too. So I'm just going to lay that frame onto there. Use the table to square that up and just lay that down. So that can be drying while I'm doing the rest of the card. And that can sit on there. Actually, I'll decide in a second whether I want to 3D that. Actually, by adding that onto a layer, it does mean that I can add 3D foam. So I could actually create that as a raised panel if I wanted to. So that gives me the option for that. Now, again, with the triangles, what I've done, I've chosen 3 sizes of triangle and die cut them from black card. Now, I will get myself a little bit inky here, actually. I haven't decided which colour I'm going to use. So I've chosen 3 sizes of triangle. It's 3 that actually follow in line in the set, actually, so they all work together. And the idea being, you could probably guess already, is that I'm going to use these to stack to create a larger Christmas tree. And I'm going to do the 3 of them, and they're going to sit across the card like so. Okay, but I'm going to give each of these triangles, and therefore each of these trees, a little bit more character, and that's where the embossing folders come in. So if I move these stitch slims to the back, so what I want to do is to emboss each of these layers. Now I think I might do each layer differently. That was my thinking, and I'm going to definitely do one layer with the stars, and let me see, I'm going to do the largest layer with a knitted embossing folder. So this is again really nice. It's just something I just don't use for no other reason other than Lisa keeps bringing out other things for us to use. So, you know, it's almost impossible to go back and try and use everything. But it's really nice to be able to sort of revisit it. And you can see from the packaging here, this is called the knitted, but it really is like the cable knit, or the knitters out there perhaps will know. Is that a pearl stitch even? I used to do a little bit of knitting. I don't know, maybe Mum will know. But it does, I think it works for Christmas because it reminds you of those cozy warm jumpers. So I'm going to layer all of the larger triangles into the embossing folder there. Now what I am doing, actually, I'm going to line these up so I make the most of the pattern. Because they are quite small pieces of card, we want to sort of maximize the impact of the design on there. So I am being a bit careful where I place those. That's entirely up to you, but you can sort of see now that I've added them there that I've wanted to have sort of a central sort of cable stitch going through the center there. Okay, excuse me for going off screen. It's a lot easier to sort of go to the embossing machine as opposed to having the embossing machine on the desk and risking me knocking everything all out the way. So you can see there, hopefully you can, yeah, you can pick that up, that we have that embossed detail on our largest triangles. And what I will be doing in a second, I'm going to enhance all of these again using some interference inks, or maybe even the metallic inks, just so I can bring out that pattern. Now what I want to do also is I want to be a bit careful not to put two really bold patterns close to each other and therefore clash too much. So I think I might do the decorative pearls on the middle sections, or the middle-sized triangles here. So again, I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to layer all my triangles in at the same time. I think it's a little bit trickier to line up the pattern on this one, so that one's fine. I'll just push this one down a little bit. There we are. So I'm just going to go for it now. I think this is a really nice way for one to actually use up all the little scraps that you might have, particularly if you're using a fancy glitter paper or something like this. Perhaps not quite so much black cardstock, you might not be quite so precious with it, but even if you don't emboss, you can still sort of die cut your triangles from them and whatever. So it's a nice way to use up little bits of card that you have sitting around, or possibly even if you've die cut a load of triangles in the past and you hadn't used them, or you changed your mind on a project and you have a whole load of triangles sitting there, maybe this is a good way to use them up. So here we have the Tiny Stars embossing folder. It's an A6 embossing folder, really cute, and it's absolutely ideal for these smaller triangles actually, because the design itself, the stars are tiny, so they are going to sit really nicely in here. Now with the stars, because there's sort of no linear pattern to it, you can just pop your triangles or your die cuts in anywhere and it won't look out of place. So I'm just going to put them through the machine as well. Okay, so this can come together really quick, and I thought this might be a really nice one to do with the children as well. They can't, you know, it'll be quite a nice one to leave them to do by themselves. But you know, using the embossing folder is quite straightforward for them, and they can just play to their heart's content. Now, there's a reason I've done this on black. I mean, obviously this would work really nicely on white as well, but I wanted to do this on black because I wanted the interference or the metallic inks to really, really pop. So I'm going to bring in, I hadn't decided what colours I'm using actually, so let me use Crimson Cheer, which will appear green on the black. I'll use the Night Sky because that is just a glorious colour. I love that one. And I'm just going to find, oh, let me use, actually, yeah, let me use this one, Galaxy Dream. So this is going to be purple, so it's going to be quite different, but I mean, it's a nice way to use your interference inks as well. Now I'm going to get totally messy again. Actually, I think what I might do, actually, use the larger one. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can swipe the ink pad over the embossing. Excuse me, I need to just reach across and get my blending sponges. What have we got? Galaxy Dream. Galaxy Dream, it's possibly this one. Warm chestnut. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways you can do this, and I'll try both ways actually, see what works the best. So we have a gold, a green, and the purple. So I think I'll put the purple on the, no, I'll put the night sky on the bottom. I'm very indecisive. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could again get your ink and you can just swipe that across your embossing folder like so. Oh my gosh, that looks so pretty. Right, what I shall do, without getting too mucky, well, I'm going to get mucky, I shall lift that up and just show you. Look at that. How pretty is that? It really, really makes that design pop. So if I hold that up against one that hasn't been done, well, you can see the difference there. So that looks so gold, but it's a real rich gold. It looks a very different gold to the solid gold. Actually, should I do the solid gold as well? That'd be a good comparison, won't it? Because the solid gold and night sky look very different on white. So let's see if we can see a difference here. You can, yeah, you can actually. The interference makes the night sky appear brighter, but that's not to say that the metallic isn't bright and popping as well. So yeah, that's a nice comparison. That the other way to do it, of course, is let me make sure I use the right blending sponge. Okay, reach across there. So I think what I might do with the night sky, I'm just going to put this on with the sponge and we'll just see if there's a difference in the application. It could be that it might not make much difference. Actually, you have a lot more control with the sponge popping that on, actually. So you have the option to build that even more to get as intense. But you certainly get a more intense colour when you swipe the ink pad over the cardstock like that, particularly when the ink pad is so juicy. Oh, I'm going to be a right mess, aren't I? So that's the bottom of the trees sorted, and as I say, the interference will get a lot brighter as that dries. So I'm going to clear this up as I go. Okay. Make sure that's dry. So this middle layer, I'm going to use the Crimson Cheer. And so I'm going to swipe that on because that's going to give me the best coverage and the quickest way of doing that. And then I shall show you the reveal in a second. So you can see from the pad here actually and the mat that the ink appears red. And there is an element of red showing up on the cardstock actually, but I'll show you how that looks just now. You can see that's a lovely green, really nice shimmery green on the black cardstock there. So we're going to have that, and that sits on top of there. So already we've got some interest to these trees. They've got different textures to them and different colours. Now you could use the same embossing folder for all three sections and do them in different colours. You could use the same colour but different embossing folders. You know, there's so many different variations to this, and obviously you can do this on a whiter cardstock as well, so they take on a completely different look. And the Galaxy Dream I'm doing on these stars. Oh, that actually worked out well, didn't it? That's quite apt. Galaxy Dream on the top stars there. So you can see this Galaxy Dream is such a dark ink. You can't actually, excuse me, you can't actually tell the colour. I think what I might do, we've got so much ink sitting here, I'll be ashamed to use that. I'm just going to mop this ink up with my sponge and colour the third one with that, I think. This ink looks so dramatic when you use it like this, but it's one of my favourites. I think I said to Lisa during Catherine's live on, I think that was Tuesday, wasn't it? Because she was on Hobby Maker. Oh, was she on Hobby Maker or Highlight Crafts on Wednesday? I forget now. But I don't know if you can see that. It's a bit tricky. I can really see the purple showing there. Let's show you on. Oh, there you go. That will actually come more to the fore as that ink dries. You can still see the ink is wet, but you can still see that lilac popping through. Okay, and that can sit on the top there. So this has got the three. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Oh dear. Got all croaky for some reason. Okay, let's mind that out of the way. And then we can go about building our card. Hopefully my fingers aren't too mucky. I think what I might do, where's my glue? Yeah, I'm going to add this layer straight to the card. Oh, I don't know if you can notice, but it feels like it's suddenly got so much darker outside and therefore made it a lot darker in here. Hopefully you can all still see everything okay. Okay, so that's our layer going in there. So I'm going to add the Christmas trees now, or the triangles to make the trees. And for the central one, I will use 3D foam because that can be the main one. Then the others, I think I shall just layer directly onto the card. So we'll have the 3D foam for the central tree. It's always easier to work from the central tree or the central image outwards, I think. Yeah, I think what I might do first of all, I'm going to layer these two together. So I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on there. And then that will make it a lot easier for me to figure out the height. Now, because there's so much ink on this cardstock, I think you might need to just be a little bit more patient when that glue sets. Yeah, I think what I might do now, I can add half a foam pad. Half a foam pad behind the top of that triangle there. And just a little bit of glue along the bottom, like so. I think what's actually quite fun with these trees as well, you can put some of these triangles at jaunty angles as well. So just to make them a little bit quirky, I think that might be a really nice idea as well. But again, I think this might be something that it'd be really nice for. So I keep referring to the kids. I'm thinking because what with the Christmas holidays coming up, you do need to keep them amused, especially for the younger ones, don't you? It's quite a long time, and they get so excited this time of year, don't they? So we can leave those there, and these build up really quite quick actually. And again, you can be quite quirky. You can put them off to the side. We can be a wonky crafter like Mum. This would be a good one for you, wouldn't it? Okay. Actually, you could probably even just change the size of them a little bit. There we are. And just put the tops on the trees like so. This again, I mean, watching these being made, these are really simple cards at the end of the day. There's nothing too tricky about them at all, but they're a bit of fun, something a little bit different. And then again, we can find ourselves a sentiment to pop on there as well. At any stage, I think they can just fit in there. Again, you don't really need to do too much more than that. But if I can just show you all the colours that are sitting there, and it's a nice way to use all your embossing folders and all your inks as well. And so there's quite a lot sort of thrown at that card, but it's very different to the one that we've created there. So how are we doing for time? Okay, I've got one more that I want to just show you. Again, a variation on a theme. It's very much a building card. I've done all the die cutting for it. Back onto a square card again. Again, I have my matten layer for the back. Now for this, and this is why I ended up with really pink fingers. I've used the explosion powders to create a couple of sets of paper, basically. You can see here, so I've used the pink one, which is the hibiscus, and that literally is just sprinkled onto the page, spritzed with a tiny little bit of water, and then I got a tissue. Yeah, I've still got the tissue here. You can see the state of it, and then instead of allowing the water just to dry, I just sort of diffused the colour a little bit, and you can see that just by sort of mopping up the water and just dabbing it around the rest of the card. So you still see the areas where the powder was settled and wasn't disturbed, but then the paler areas, which actually show the different types of colour in the pigment powder, which is a lot more faded. So that gives a really nice mottled look. That's a really nice look that I like to use. And then for this colour, I really think these two colours go nicely together and are really Christmassy. This colour is the teal waters. And for this one, you can see possibly here that I would have sprinkled the powder along here. Then I spritzed the quite a lot of water actually where this powder was sitting. And then I've used a brush just to brush out these strokes, the pigment powder, so it's a more solid colour across the page. That ended up with quite a lot of water. So what I then done was took a second piece of cardstock, and while this still had a lot of water sitting on top of it, obviously didn't have the die cuts in, and I just pressed that down onto this piece of water and transferred some of the ink, so that really sort of muted those colours a little bit. But again, that's just a really nice solid colour. And what you can do when the ink is like this, you can then just spritz really gently, allow that water to sit, and then what you'll see, it might take a little bit longer, and I think what I might do, I might just use a cloth just to lift it. That will then create water drops. I'd have to be a little bit more patient with this one, but you can see how the water drops are starting to appear on this. So again, you can create a mottled texture on that as well. So it's a really nice way to play with these powders. But I've used a mixed media paper for this, like a watercolor card, something that can take a lot of water. And I know Lisa has those packs of watercolor cardstock, and as she was explaining the difference in using the watercolor and the super smooth. So if you want to play with a lot of water, something that's going to take a lot of moisture, then the thicker watercolor card or a mixed media cardstock is a better way of doing that. So we have these two sets. So these are going to last me for a long time. I should put these away and probably die cut into them for quite a while. So I have my base layer here. Now, yeah, I wasn't going to emboss this one. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So again, I just like to have this clear layer, white layer, going direct to the card because it gives me that boundary. Although it's a very subtle boundary, it gives me that space within which I can work. Now, from the blue cardstock, I've die cut myself a couple of the larger triangles. And this one, and again, you can fussy cut, so you can choose where you make your die cut. So I chose this time to have some of the white space because I quite like that mottling there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to emboss this larger one here. So we have that little bit, that texture on the larger one. And again, this particular card is all about layering different textures. So this is going to look totally different to the time that I used the knitted on this card here. I'm not going to enhance it, so I just want that subtle detail in the background like that, which is nice and cozy. And then I'm going to use this triangle on top to create a little scene. So I think what I might do, I'm going to attach my triangle here first. I know I'm possibly running out of time again, but I think I'm going to do a nice quick video and not keep you for too long. I always end up going over time. So for this one here, what I want to do, I do want to create just ground this triangle a little bit, and I want to have that dark base at the bottom just to make it stand out. So I'm going to attach, this is just a black triangle which is the same size as this one I've done here. You could just cut a black strip of paper or cut the bottom off the triangle, a black triangle, and add it that way. But while I've got that triangle there, I'm going to use that as is, and then I can layer these both onto the card. So this is actually quite a simple card again, but there's lots of layers to it, which I think just sort of builds that interest. And because the watercolor cardstock or the mixed media cardstock is actually it's a lot thicker, so even when you actually lay this flat onto the card without 3D foam, there's a good element of dimension with it as well. Now what I've then done, I've used the two smallest of the triangle dies, and I've die cut into my pink explosion powder background a lot of triangles. Now I possibly have cut more than I need, but that's okay. It gives me something to play with. And I've also cut a couple of sparkly ones just to break up the look. I've got a strip of Lisa's glitter cardstock that I just had sitting there. So again, it's a really nice way to use up the little scraps that I have. And again, I'm just going to add this right across the center, and I'm just going to cut that to length. Yeah, I'm going to do that there. And again, this is just acts as another sort of a grounding piece, really, because what I want to do is add trees along the top, and obviously trees can't float in thin air, so we need we just need a sort of an element in here just to just something that our eyes are drawn to. and it ties up these two shapes together. You can see now these are no longer two separate triangles, they are linked, and you can see why the black sort of works in the base there. Hopefully you can anyway. And then pretty much how I've done here, I just want to start layering and creating different triangle shapes for the trees. Okay, like this. So this is where I can bring in the sparkly one here, just to break up those two pink ones. Now you can go as mad or you can add as many trees or as few trees as you like. Sometimes less is more, but sometimes if you're you can add a lot of things and then it looks really good. I'm not always very good at that, so I'm usually in the camp of less is more, but that gives us a sort of the idea that the trees are being built there. So I'm just going to layer them like that at the moment. I won't stick them down, I shall do that in a second, and we can add a little bit on the top there. It's not going to balance, is it? I might need to, yeah, I might need to stick that one on there. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to use this one here, which is a lot darker, so that's, I've got the contrast there, and add that onto the top of that tree. Again, you can spend a lot of time this making like nice quirky little shapes, but that's a really nice sort of modern take on a Christmas card. And then obviously you can come in with any of your sentiments. I want one that's in silver, I think, this time. These sentiments work for everything. I think they really do. Oh, Merry Christmas, there we are. I like that one. And I can add a little Merry Christmas one there, and then possibly just finish that off with a tiny little triangle just to tie it up on that side there. So let me see if I can bring in a second camera just so as you can see there. So it's a really modern take on a Christmas card, but again, it's using all triangles obviously than just the couple of little strips there, but I think it works really nicely. And if you choose your colours and say, I think it works really nicely. So that's three. I've made 4 cards, but 3 totally different styles. Something a little bit different, perhaps something that nobody would have seen before. Ooh, let's put them there for you. And again, you can make the most of all the embossing folders that you have, both newer ones and older ones. You can use your nested triangles if you have them and they haven't had an outing from your shelf for a little while. I'll just show you that one again, the colours that are sitting on there. Who's that? Oh, hi Bonnie, haven't seen you there. Hi Tina, thanks for joining me. So I think I'll leave that with you there today before I go on for too long. I shall get these photographed and put them in the group. Hopefully I can get the beauty of the colours on this one here. It's always quite tricky to when light's involved. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you didn't mind watching me play. Say it's a little bit different to what I usually do with my stenciling and whatever, but say it's nice just to sort of to see what comes out sometimes, isn't it? I know you have ideas in your head and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Right, so there's no live from Lisa this week, so she'll be, well, I'd like to say she'll be back with you next week. I know she'd definitely like to be back with you next week herself, but I'm certainly not going to promise that, and she will definitely be in touch on the Facebook group as to when she feels ready to come back. Say, I know she's had the little procedure and she's recovering well. I think she's she's itching to get back to doing what she loves and chatting to you all. So, you know, hopefully that won't be too much longer. Thanks for joining me this week. I've had you've been with me twice. I shall see you again on Tuesday. So enjoy your weekend, everyone, and take care.